Hello there, my name is Tuomas, this is Sound of Free. Welcome to a new review of the Beach Boys' Anthem for the Summer, ultimate anthem for the summer, all summer long. You might wonder, what? It doesn't look like that. Well, this copy does, it's weird. I don't have the original pressing, I would love to have it, but I've never been able to even see that anywhere. It's very rare here. This is a later release, but the album is the same, the music is the same. Music for pleasure. It's quite interesting. I think it's funny how they used the picture of Mike with a white beanie on the cover. Let's see what the label looks like. Well, it's red. Pretty interesting. But hey, this album is really great. I think it's up there with Surfer Girl. So during this time, their sound started to, or had already developed a lot, and it started to, you know, the compositions, structures in the songs, and their playing, everything had improved so much. To me, this album is up there with Surfer Girl from the, you know, with the, if you compare all the early albums. I think this is kind of like end of an era type of album for them. Mostly they are playing their own instruments on, if not on everything really, but I think at least mostly they're playing. I'm not sure, there might be some people, other people, session musicians with them, but I believe mostly they are still playing their own instruments here. This is before Brian started to really get into the Wrecking Crew things, but the compositions and production techniques, everything are starting to be, you know, are starting to get more and more complex. The first track, I Get Around, to me sounds like almost like this pre-Smile, Cabin Essence, Good Vibrations type of a song, with its verses and chorus and all the parts being, or sounding so different from each other, but then still coming together perfectly. I really like it. It's a classic track. It's easy to just fast forward and say that it's once again one of those car tracks, but I think there's so much more to it. It's very groovy, it's very upbeat, super fun, the lyrics are great, the performance is great. It's just a perfect little rock and roll track, really love it. Then we have All Summer Long, which is a classic. It was used very greatly in the end titles of end credits of American Graffiti, and to me it's just this anthem of the 60s California summer type of vibe and music. I don't know. It's interesting because at the same time, it has it's very upbeat, but at the same time it has a melancholic backdrop, and it feels like this end of an era type of a track, which is one of the reasons why I love the way it was used in American Graffiti. Great film. Then we have a cover of Hashipai, which is freaking brilliant. It's one of those times when, I mean, they used to do a lot of cover songs on their albums, and a lot of times, especially in the early days, they were pretty much filler-esque type of tracks, but this one, I think it just is up there with their best original stuff, really. It is so great. The way Mike sings on it, I think it's one of his finest vocals, and Brian as well, and everybody. It's pure perfection. I really love it. It is very, I don't know what to say about it. You just have to listen to it if you haven't listened to it. It's great. It's really great. And then we have Little Honda, which is very similar to I Get Around. I really love the grungy guitar on it. And once again, I think this is a little bit underrated track. I find it interesting how there was around this time, their version wasn't really a huge hit, but then there was like some group came around which was like called, like, what was it? I mean, somebody probably, some of the viewers probably know the story better, but there was like a group called like Honda or something like Hondas or something like that, and they covered this track, and I believe it was like a bigger hit for them than it was for Beach Boys, something like that. Like, I've seen a video of it on YouTube. It's fun, but it was just very interesting how the business worked back then. People kind of took other songs and did covers for them, and sometimes they, like the Beach Boys took Barbara Ann, for example, and sometimes they became bigger hits than the original one. And it's very interesting from today's point of view when people are mostly doing originals. It's fun, but I love the Beach Boys version. I think it's very rocking, groovy track. I really like it. I like the guitars on it. It's really great. And then we have We'll Run Away, which is a very moody, emotional track. Not so well known, but I always loved it. The vocal performance, instrumentation, everything. It's so 60s, mid 60s, early 60s, but oh man, it's great. It's really great. And then we have Cause Big Chance, which is the first, so to speak, filler of this album. It's not as bad, or not to say that the fillers on Shutdown Volume 2 were bad, really, but it's not, on the level of them. This is better than Dennis Drums or the Shutdown Part 2 track, in my opinion. I love to listen Carl playing that surf guitar, even though it was probably made in a few hours, kind of impromptu, but I dig it a lot. I think it's fun, and I like the positioning of it at the end of side 1, works really well. And then side 2 we have this very underrated gem starting off, Wendy, with amazing intro, those dark guitar chords at the begin, or notes at the beginning, and it is so great. And then the drums and Brian's voice in this track is it's exceptionally good, even for them. And I think it's almost criminal that this song isn't more well known. I mean, it's very much loved and liked with the Beach Boys fans and fandom, but it's not like one of their most well known songs, which is a shame, really, because it is so great. And each time you hear this live, it works so well, because the intro, just the intro, is so memorable and so different from anything other that they ever did, really. So yeah, it is great, and it's a great way to open side 2. And then we have Do You Remember, which is another filler-esque type of a track. I never had a problem with this. I think the lyrics are fun, and I think the melody and the music and the composition, everything, I think it works really well. But I don't know, I always liked it. I always enjoyed it a lot. I think it's a fun track, and Brian does a good vocal performance, as does everybody else as well. So yeah, I like it how it references to, all the legendary rock artists, and it's fun because this song was written just a few years after, these people like Buddy Holly and this thing started only like 10 years prior. So it's crazy how it's written from the perspective of like this thing was so long ago. It feels very weird to me. But yeah, then we have Girls on the Beach, which I've previously somewhere thrown this one under the bus completely, calling it horrible or something. Well, I think musically it's great. It's phenomenal. The lyrics are not really up there. I guess they're okay, but I don't know. It feels very superficial to me. I love the part that Dennis sings. That's great, and he just brings such a big soul. He's not that much, on this album vocally, but I love his part on this track, and somehow the intro especially, it sounds so much like The Warmth of the Sun. I don't know if it's just me, but it sounds very similar to that one. I prefer the lyrics on Warmth of the Sun over this one. But yeah, I mean, it's fun. I've grown to appreciate it more lately, in its superficial ways. I don't know. It's great. It's great. The lyrics are a bit silly, I guess, but it's fun. I really like it. And Driving, once again, is well, some people might call it a filler type of track. I don't. To me, it's almost up there with I Get Around. And I'm not kidding. I would put it right next to Little Honda, really. It's very similar with those tracks. Not maybe as complex or interesting with its composition, but I don't know. There's something about it. I love the lyrics. I've never been to a drive-in theater. There's not, those here. It's not a thing here. Never really was. I think maybe some few decades ago there was one or two. I don't know, but I've never been even seen one. I'd love to go to see one. But to me, just them singing about this driving experience is very it's like fantasy-like. It feels like, wow, it sounds so cool. You have Coke over there, and it was this. I don't know. I think the story of the lyrics is just very. It's very warm somehow. It feels like you're there with your friends and having a lot of fun, and then the music is very upbeat, and Mike is singing really good. He's really I don't know. And I love that part where the music stops and we have that little break, just silence, and then the voices kick in again. It's so groovy and a rock and roll type of a track. I really like it. And I wish it was more well known once again, but a lot of people, take it as a filler, and I can see why. But I think it's better than that, really. Then we have a pure filler track, our favorite recording sessions, which is once again this comedy skit type of a little part, kind of like the Sony versus Liston, or what Cassius, whatever the name was, on the previous album with Mike and Brian having their little arguments. So this is kind of like that one again, complete filler, and it's not a song at all, so I'm not even gonna review it. But after that one, the album ends with Don't Back Down, which is a really great track, and I like it how they brought it back on the 50th anniversary tour, because this track it's not like a big hit or anything like that. It's not that well known, but it's a fun track. I really enjoyed it when they did that live back then. And yeah, it's a surfing track thematically. I guess it's considered a classic these days. But I especially with the original album cover, which is so cool. I love that one. I'd love to own it. But at this point they had improved so much their playing skills and their singing, their background vocals. Their singing is so tight on the lead vocals over here. And the compositions are starting to be more and more complex and interesting, and they are really improving on the ballads. And this is an end of an era type of album, most definitely for them. Yeah, really good album. Highly recommend it if you do not own it or haven't listened to it in its complete form. Go for it. You will love it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this series soon enough. The next one is going to be a big one, and the next ones after that, I'm not really sure what I'm going to review next. Is it gonna, maybe I'll even do the concert one. I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to see about that, because we are now getting into the era of the group where we are getting closer and closer Pet Sounds, and it's crazy how fastly they improved. Because we only have a few albums in between this one and Pet Sounds, and they feel like light years apart. And I already hinted about this in a previous video that I will probably save my Pet Sounds review for a later date. So if you're waiting for that, please don't be disappointed, because I have so much music and albums by the Beach Boys that I want to review before that one, because I feel like that's the big one, even though it's not my all-time favorite album by them, but it is considered one of the greatest albums of all time. So I really have to think about what I'm gonna say about it. Probably even have to write something down about it. I don't wanna, blow it up. So anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll see you soon on the next one. And if you haven't seen my previous Beach Boys reviews, please consider watching them. You'll find them on this channel. Take care. Bye bye.